One of the biggest questions that has faced the human race for as long as I can remember. Who is the biggest NFL bust of all time? Yep. Now, let me go ahead and bring in my co-host, former Michigan quarterback David Cohn, my brother, former Western State Colorado wide receiver Blaine Crain. And guys, listen, first off, we have to kind of define what we think a bust is.
Have to.
To me, a bust is somebody that was drafted in the first round that did not live up to first-round potential. That doesn't mean, David, that you have to win a championship to not be considered a bust. I don't even think you have to win a championship to be considered one of the greatest players of all time. You look at Dan Marino, you go down the list. Is that kind of where you're feeling?
Yeah, okay, so first-round selection. We'll cap it at first-round selection, but didn't have a first-round impact.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. So, us and our crack team here at Crain & Company have put together a bracket of 20 names. Out of those 20 names, we gave a bye to the top prospects, and then we got 10 on each side as we go to find our champion.
Jamarcus Russell got a first-round bye.
Yes.
We got Ryan Leaf got a first-round bye.
Yes.
Johnny Manziel.
Johnny Bands.
Going into the second round already. And then Steve Ettman.
Let's start with Dwayne Haskins, David. Somebody.
Dwayne Haskins is on here?
R.I.P.
Who put Dwayne Haskins on?
R.I.P. He was the 15th overall pick. It was. I don't think it's a bad pick, Blaine. I don't think it's a bad pick.
He died.
He did die, but one of the things about being a bust is you've got to be alive to not be to beat the bust.
So you're taking
right?
He didn't live up to expectations, like
literally
the most literal.
Yeah, in the most literal way you could ever think of it.
I don't want to have any part in this.
Well, listen, we're getting down to business. All right, to quote the great philosopher Mulan, let's get down to business.
So rest in peace.
R.I.P.
That's
for sure.
tough to call him a bust, man.
Well, I mean, it sucks.
It does.
You know?
But what do you say if I want to make people happy? What would I do?
I'd sell ice cream for a living.
All right, well, he's going up against Josh Rosen.
Josh Rosen, okay.
Josh Rosen, the golden one, 10th overall pick.
Out of UCLA.
In the 2018 draft, remember, one of those Cali quarterbacks, blonde hair, likes to go surfing while he's out here throwing pinpoint passes. Didn't live up to the hype. But, and guys, I got to be honest, as good as Dwayne was in college, and not to say Josh was bad in college, I feel like Josh was more hyped up. And he did go higher at 10th overall when Dwayne went 15th overall.
That's true. We talk about, we always see that one quarterback who gets hyped up every year. That was like Josh Rosen ends up going 10 overall. Career stats, 3 different teams. Cardinals, then remember got traded to Miami, then to the Falcons. 2,800 passing yards, 12 touchdowns, 21 INTs.
And remember, he was billed as like your perfect NFL type quarterback.
So just out of respect,
and spent the last 2 years on the Browns and Vikings practice squad.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I've got to go Josh Rosen here to move on to take Jamarcus Russell. We want to know in the comments who you think. Are we all in agreement on that?
Yeah.
Josh Rosen?
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I'll roll with that.
All right, so Josh Rosen will go on to take Jamarcus Russell. Let's go to our next one. Achilles Smith. All right, this is a name some of you may not remember. The 3rd overall pick in the 1999 draft, I believe, to the Bengals. He's going to take on Charles Rogers, the 2nd overall pick in the 2003 NFL draft, who ended up not turning out. I know Charles Rogers was taken before Achilles Smith, but with all the hype, and David, I'll let you give a little background on it if you want here. I've got to go Achilles Smith by a hair, just a little bit.
So Achilles Smith, 4 seasons with the Cincinnati Bengals, 2,200 career passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. He rushed for 371 yards. On the Charles Rogers side of things, like you talked about, number 2 overall pick, 440 total yards with 4 touchdowns receiving.
Yeah, neither of those numbers are good at all, but Achilles Smith at the quarterback position, another guy that was very hyped. Again, it was 1999. We're kind of going in the Wayback Machine. And yes, Charles Rogers was the 2nd pick as a guy coming out at the skill position. I've just got to go Achilles Smith because of the quarterback situation.
I'll go Charles Rogers. You want to break that tie?
How many years did Charles play in the league?
2. It looks like 2003 for the Lions, and then, oddly enough, 2005 for the Lions.
Really? Okay.
Try to renaissance here. Didn't work.
I'd probably go Charles Rogers as well.
Okay, we're going to go Charles Rogers. Advances, again, in the comments. We want to know, especially you old-timers, who you're picking. So he moves on to face Johnny Manziel. Now, guys, I want to jump to the other side of the bracket here for the last 2 play-in games, and you're going to know these 2 names. And I will say one of them still has time to resurrect it if he can figure it out. But so far at this point, I mean, Zach Wilson taking on Justin Blackman. Everybody knows Zach Wilson out of UAB was again the pro-style golden boy running around in his underwear looking good at pro day because he's got a big arm. Second overall pick. And then Justin Blackman, a guy I'm not going to lie, in 2012 coming out of Oklahoma State, I thought he was him.
Yeah.
I thought he was him. You look physically, didn't really work out, had some problems off the field as well. But again, I go back to Zach Wilson was the prodigal son of that 2021 draft. And it does not, I know the Jets aren't littered with a ton of skill position talent, but there's a reason they had to go get Aaron Rodgers. You missed on Zach Wilson. Let's just be, I don't see him turning it around, David.
6,000 pass yards in 3 seasons, 23 touchdowns, 25 INTs. It could be way worse. Let's check out the Justin Blackman side of things here. Like you said, number 5 overall pick, 2 seasons with the Jacksonville Jaguars. That was 12 and 13. 1,200 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns. Look, year 1, 865 yards and 5 TDs.
Worse, David. That makes it
well,
worse.
he got hit with legal stuff.
He did, but that's still on.
No, that's on him. So that's in the consideration of a bust. I think it was a DUI. A marijuana
weed,
charge,
something with weed.
Yeah, I think it was a couple things. And think about it, Justin Blackman's a damn good college player.
No, he was
damn good college player. To me, I'd probably go. I think Zach Wilson was overhyped.
I'm going to go Justin Blackman because Zach still has time, but you guys.
Yeah, and look, I've got nothing personal against Zach Wilson. I hope he figures it out. But all we did last year at Crain and Company, or a couple years ago, was tell everybody, like, falling in love with guys at pro days when they're throwing without – the tape should tell you everything. That should be worth its weight in gold. Not that Zach didn't have some good stuff, but he's just all over the place, and you've seen that in the NFL. I mean, the guy makes worse decisions, than me at a fraternity party. Looking down, this is a great matchup right here, fellas. Y'all should know both these names. The Boz, Brian Bosworth, right? Basically Latimer from the program. If you've seen that movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Against Trent Richardson, former Alabama running back. Guys, don't forget, Trent Richardson was the 3rd overall pick.
Wow.
In the 2012 draft. He went number 3. Justin Blackman went number 5. And then you look, obviously, at Bosworth, a ton of hype with him and Bo Jackson. He was all rookie, but after that was out of the league, I think, within 2 years. Was a supplemental draft pick by the Seattle Seahawks in 1987, but the hype machine was times a zillion with Brian Bosworth. Guys, this is the toughest one so far for me right here.
Interesting. All right, Trent Richardson, 4 years from 2012 to 2014, 2 with Cleveland, 2 with the Colts, 2,000 total rush yards, 17 touchdowns. This one's tough. Where y'all going?
I don't know.
You said Bosworth was still, what was he, Rookie of the Year? Or?
He got all rookie and then was out of the league, I think, within 3 years after that. Taking a running back at number 3, I think one of the reasons why, and it worked out for Jahmyr Gibbs and the Lions, even though he's kind of a Swiss Army knife guy. Bijan's kind of a Swiss Army knife guy, too. I think Trent Richardson started the trend of not taking running backs that high, that early, after he was a bust at number 3.
Because his rookie year, he went for 950 and 11 TDs. Again, solid rookie year.
Similar to Justin Blackman. You had that solid rookie year, and then him and Bosworth both obviously had solid rookie years because Bosworth got all rookie. I just think the hype for Bosworth, with you remember him and Bo Jackson finally colliding there in the NFL. Bo Jackson got the best of him. I think just the hype surrounding the Boz, that whole narrative coming out of Oklahoma, I think that barely edges out.
Was Boz coming out when y'all's dad was coming out?
He was
a little later.
Oh no, Bosworth was a little older than my dad. My dad went out a little bit later.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really live through the Boz hype, so I kind of missed some of that.
Yeah.
This is tough. I guess I'll go Trent Richardson because running back at 3, man, I need you to do like Adrian Peterson type stuff, but I'm fine with either one.
I'm probably going to go with Boz just because I've seen a couple documentaries where this guy was so hyped up coming out of college.
All over the 30.
All right, so he'll face Ettman.
All right, yeah, he'll face Steve Ettman, who is our only non-quarterback 1 overall seed. All right, let's go back to the top left here. And it's going to be tough to unseat this cat.
Yeah.
All right, I feel like that we're on a collision course with him and another guy. Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah.
Which I think if you went around and you polled 100 people that are close to our age, are in our age bracket, Jamarcus Russell would, without a doubt, probably be the first name when you bring up NFL biggest buzz. Just because it was the perfect storm. Quarterback, specimen that could throw it 80 yards on a knee. I saw him do it. Was able to throw the changeup, played at a big-time place like LSU. It's going to be very hard for anybody to unseat Jamarcus Russell. As much of a letdown as Josh Rosen, Pretty Boy Floyd was, I've got to go Jamarcus Russell. And the lean king, you had controversy. I mean, he's just drinking more lean, just him and Wheezy and the gang. And it got him out of the league.
The 80 yards on a knee stuff was wild because those videos were everywhere.
One of the craziest games I've ever been to was LSU Auburn when Jamarcus Russell was there.
Really?
Yeah, him and Marcus Randall, I remember
Craziest game I've been to. Guy was an absolute freak, but it's going to be hard to de-seat this guy.
Yeah, Jamarcus Russell moves on. Josh Rosen loses in a bracket where you want to lose. Now, right below that, all right, another guy that
Andrew
has
Luck.
some time, right, and another guy that decided to leave before his time was done, at least in our opinion, Trey Lance. All right, again, very high pick out of North Dakota State. Seems those North Dakota State quarterbacks really aren't working out. I wonder why. Going up against Andrew Luck, a guy that put up a ton of numbers, that was living up to the hype, but then retired early. You can make an argument maybe he shouldn't be on this bust list, but I like that you kind of get a little bit of an alternative flavor here that's not resulting in death, right? Like Dwayne Haskins. So Andrew Luck versus Trey Lance, interesting matchup. And only because I saw Andrew Luck live up to the hype somewhat, I've got to go Trey Lance.
It seems to me that the reason Andrew Luck is even involved in a conversation like this is twofold. One, he was billed as the best quarterback of a generation since John Elway coming out, basically. And then two, he was replacing in Indianapolis a top 5 all-time quarterback. And remember the decision that the Colts had to go through when Peyton Manning was hurt that year? That's why the Colts did so bad to even have the number 1 overall pick. It's like, are the Colts really going to move on from Peyton Manning to draft Andrew Luck? But then you're looking at it and you're like, well, it's the right call, right?
And it was
you're
working
at the end of Peyton Manning's career, and you have a chance to get another number 1 overall guy. That's the reason, like, a lot of people are just, after however many seasons it was, 2012 to 2018, they're like, hey, that's huge hype to live up to. Still, Andrew Luck threw for 23,000 yards, 171 touchdowns, 83 interceptions. Hard to call him a bust even by the highest expectations. Meanwhile, Trey Lance was the number 3 overall pick, has thrown for 797 yards and 5 TDs.
Another one of those reaches that we talk about where guys sit there and watch so much tape, they talk themselves into making bad decisions.
It was a mistake, and I mean, it's hard for me. Did Andrew Luck fully live up to his potential? No, but I mean, the guy was, a 4-time Pro Bowler.
He's walked laps around
multiple seasons in passing yards. Was a hell of a runner too, made impact plays. I get why Andrew Luck is here, but it just doesn't feel right.
I mean, he went about his business the right way, tried hard, and even all the injuries at the end, which is why he walked away from the game, it was like you saw how much he hated to leave the NFL.
And I know Andrew Luck is smarter than me. So Andrew Luck, making that decision, I trust Andrew Luck.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's coaching now, right?
He's doing coaching. I think he's
Palo Alto.
It's a book club.
I think he's coaching Palo Alto.
Yeah, he's
get him
probably
on the show.
I know, man.
We need to
That'd
get
be
Andrew
great.
Luck on the show. It's actually a good call. All right, so Trey Lance moves on to face King Bust, Jamarcus Russell. Johnny Manziel versus Charles Rogers. Now, listen, I know Charles Rogers, like he said, was a really high pick, the 2nd overall pick. Didn't work out. Receiver, I believe. But Johnny Manziel, all right, 22nd overall pick, so it's not like he was top 5. But let's not forget, you were either on one side of the fence or the other on Johnny Manziel. He was going to come in and light the NFL on fire, or he was going to light himself on fire. Now, it turned out he lit himself on fire, and we have documentaries out now about this. As much as Charles Rogers didn't work out, I had some hope that maybe Johnny Manziel could figure it out enough to show some of the magic that we saw when he was at A&M in the NFL, but he ended up being what everybody that doubted him thought he would be. I mean, it's just the truth. Didn't watch film.
For the reasons, a lot that they doubted him.
To me, I got to move you on just because you were what everybody thought you were.
True. 2 seasons, 14-15, Cleveland, 1,600 passing yards, 7 TDs, 7 picks. The hype wasn't.
The hype around Johnny Bands was ridiculous. Yeah. And he wasn't even supposed to. I'm surprised I thought he'd go before 22. Because if people reach for Zach Wilson, how do you not reach for Johnny Manziel?
You reach for, it's, the off the field stuff worried a lot of people, and he ended up proving them why they were worried. But no, Johnny Manziel was the talk of that draft. So we're all in agreement. Johnny Manziel moves on.
Agreed.
Now, there are very few things in life that are better than going to watch a game live. Whether it's football, whether it's baseball, whether it's basketball, hell, whether it's hula hooping. But what makes the game even better is getting the best deals with the Game Time app to go watch it live. They make getting NBA Finals tickets even faster and easier. Prices on Game Time apps actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off. Or maybe you're heading out to Omaha for the College World Series. They got those too. It's a reliable companion when it comes to buying any type of tickets. They take the guesswork out with their killer last-minute deals. All-in prices, you get views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. You can trust Game Time to always deliver the best ticketing experience. Now, Nashville doesn't have an NBA team, even though it should, and we should be on it. But we love that Nashville has a little bit of everything around us, from Titans games to Pred games, even concerts. Game Time isn't just about sports. It's all events. We always know getting the best price is always the best move. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA Finals tickets or any tickets with Game Time. Here's how it works. You download the Game Time app. You create an account. Use code BOOSTER, and you get $20 off your first purchase. Create that account, redeem it with code BOOSTER, BOOSTER. Get that $20 off. Do it today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. It's always Game Time with the Game Time app. All right, let's go to two here. Both quarterbacks, Brady Quinn versus Heath Schuler. Now, Heath Schuler was the 3rd overall pick in the 94 draft.
Okay.
Brady Quinn was the 22nd overall pick, so he was picked in the same spot that Johnny Manziel was, but there was a lot of hype for him coming out of Notre Dame. This was in the 2007 draft. David, when you look at what's your feeling on this?
All right, so I have 4 seasons right now for Brady Quinn. That was 2007, 8, and 9 with Cleveland, and then 1 season with Kansas City in 2012. Again, 24 total games played. 3,000 passing yards, 12 TDs, 17 INTs. But remember, I mean, Brady Quinn coming out of Notre Dame.
Good-looking
guy.
He was
Picture perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, he beat Michigan on my official visit in Ann Arbor. And that
he was a
soured
really
the whole
good
weekend.
player, really good college
Yeah.
player. It just didn't translate.
Now, Heath Schuler, I don't know that much about. So you said he was taken when?
He was the 3rd overall pick. All right, and this is a name that you know the name, but you don't know a ton about. He was the 3rd overall pick in the 1994 NFL draft.
All right,
So
he played
higher
4
pick than Brady
seasons
Quinn.
for the Redskins and Saints, threw for 3,600 yards and 15 touchdowns. So very comparable right there, first-round matchup.
To me, it comes down to where they were picked, right? If the numbers are even comparable, if you were one was the 3rd pick and the other was the 22nd pick, I think that's going to push it over.
Fair
right?
enough. So Schuler?
So Schuler. So Brady Quinn is out, so we got Johnny Manziel versus Heath Schuler. I go ahead and tell you he's going to win that one. But going to the other side, Ryan Leaf and Zach Wilson.
Ryan Leaf.
It's going to be tough for anybody but one guy, maybe two, to beat Ryan Leaf. All right, we know, because Ryan Leaf wasn't just, hey, you were the 2nd overall pick in the 98 NFL draft. Oh, man fell apart. Like the way Johnny Manziel fell apart off the field, Ryan Leaf was Johnny Manziel before Johnny Manziel. I mean, you look at what happened when he got out of the league and then getting arrested. And he's turned his life around. I'm unbelievably happy for Ryan Leaf now. But in this list, Zach Wilson still has time. He's been a big bust, but at least Zach Wilson's busts have been on the field totally. And I'm not talking about him hanging out with other people's moms. But Ryan Leaf's was just an absolute crash.
You know, it's tough because I really went around when all this was going around with Ryan Leaf. In 98, like
So you don't remember all the talk about should he be taking over Peyton Manning? Because it was real.
No.
It was real.
No. How that's even a conversation blows me.
Well, but if you go back and watch Ryan Leaf, I mean, at Washington State, number one, he's a monster. He's basically Ben Roethlisberger. Like, he had a cannon. He was very cerebral. He was just nuts off the field. I mean, and that ended up costing him.
I mean, I would think he just cruises past Zach Wilson, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's a reason he's a 1 seed. So Ryan Leaf, I think we can all agree on that. All right, Vince Young and Mitch Trubisky. Vince Young, 3rd overall pick in the 2006 draft. Mitch Trubisky, 2nd overall pick in the 2017 draft, David. Blaine, is it Vince Young?
64% completion percentage.
Is it Vince Young because, A, he was so dominant in college at Texas, coming off that national championship win against USC? Everybody thought, hey, could this be like kind of a Michael Vick situation where you have a guy that's such an elite runner that it translates? Is he a good enough thrower? People thought yes. I feel like Vince Young almost here.
It's got to be Vince
It's
Young,
got to
right?
be, right? Like, Mitch hasn't been.
I think it's Mitch Trubisky.
Really?
I mean, Vince went to 2 Pro Bowls. One Offensive Rookie Player of the Year.
Was he the Offensive Rookie of the Year?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. He's,
But see, again, that makes
He
me
was
felt that
Offensive
against
Rookie of the
other-
Year on 2,000 pass yards and 12 TDs, 13 picks. Wow.
06. I mean, Mitch might have better numbers, but sometimes the numbers don't add up to the play. Just because you're cooking it doesn't mean you're bringing it in.
That's fair.
I don't know, Blaine. You may have convinced me.
I mean, it's hard to call you a bust when they put you on the cover of Madden.
Is it Trubisky?
I would think Mitch is a bigger bust.
I'll go with Mitch.
All right, let's do it then.
I'll go with Mitch. So Mitch moves on to lose to Ryan Leaf in the next round. All right. Getting down to the bottom of the bracket. Remember, tell us where you think we're right. Tell us where you think we're wrong. Steve Ettman and Brian Bosworth. Brian Bosworth made all-rookie. Steve Ettman, you were the #1 pick, dog. Bosworth did get all-rookie. You got to give him credit for that. I know he was out of the league, but he was a supplemental pick. This guy was the #1 overall pick. And I didn't even know who you were before we looked at this list.
So
You busted into irrelevance.
3 seasons with the Colts, 2 with Miami, 8 total sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and a pick.
5 years and 8 sacks. Injury. I think
50 total games played.
Yeah, no, Doug, you #1 pick. No, can't happen.
I would go.
I got to go Steve Ettman.
Ettman.
I think so.
So we're almost to the quarterfinals here. Tavon Austin and Blake Bortles. Tavon Austin, who may have the greatest high school highlight tape I've ever seen, was the 8th overall pick in the 2013 draft. Blake Bortles, 3rd overall pick. God, the Jags, right? God, the Jags laid out the blueprint for the Panthers.
Yeah, because my buddy Chad Henne was starting for the Jags when Bortles got drafted.
Tavon did some stuff on special teams. He shouldn't have been the 8th overall pick. How's it not Blake Bortles here? Because Blake Bortles I can't remember Blake Bortles doing anything. He should have been swinging a baseball bat.
Well, I just remember him playing for a terrible Jags team.
He did, but like at some point, you're the one they picked to resurrect it. They picked you 3rd overall. I know that's a handsome amount of money. Tavon at 8, I know that's not chump change.
Tavon did play 113 games.
And most of those games just special teams.
True.
Just special teams. And Tavon, like you remember Tavon coming out of West Virginia. Special teams was just part of it. All right, as a receiver, he was dominant.
Yeah, they put him in the slot.
He was absolutely dominant. Didn't do a single thing as a receiver.
Yeah, I mean, man, Blake still had a 4,400-yard passing season, 35-18. I mean, that's a hell of a year.
Tavon?
Another
We can go
3,900
Tavon.
yard.
Yeah,
I
we
thought
can go
there's more.
Tavon.
I mean, I think from fans there was more hype for Tavon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go Tavon then. Jamarcus Russell, Trey Lance. Got to be Jamarcus Russell, right? Trey Lance still has some time.
I think it could end up being Trey Lance.
I do too.
But for right now, I'm fine with that.
Really, you think? God, I just don't know how you. And I don't want to ruin it, but how do you become a bigger bust than Jamarcus Russell?
Because right now, Trey Lance has 700 passing yards.
How many does Jamarcus have? He
He
had
had 4,000.
All right, next one. Johnny Manziel versus Heath Schuler. Not close to me. This has got to be Johnny Manziel.
I got to go Johnny Bands.
Got to go Johnny Bands here. So, boy, that's a hell of a Final Four matchup right there. All right, top right, Ryan Leaf, Mitch Trubisky. It's got to be Ryan Leaf, right? It's got to be. Now this one, Steve Ettman versus Tavon Austin. Do you think there may have been more hype for Tavon Austin as the 8th pick as there was for Steve Ettman?
I don't know how much hype Steve Ettman got.
Me neither.
Maybe due to
But you got picked
over.
over 1st overall. Like you had to be hyped up. There's no way you weren't.
All right.
Like you had 8 sacks in 8 years.
All right, so just like the NCAA tournament, we're pretty much all chalk here. Now it's nut cutting time. Jamarcus Russell versus Johnny Manziel.
Again,
The fact that we're even having to debate the 1st overall pick versus the 22nd overall pick lets you know how much hype there was for Johnny Manziel.
true. And again, 1,600 yards after 2 seasons, 7 touchdowns, 7 picks.
What's Jamarcus's numbers?
Jamarcus was 4,000 total passing yards, 18 TDs, 23 INTs. His completion percentage was 52%. Johnny Manziel's was 57%.
How many games did Jamarcus Russell play?
He played in 31 total games.
You look at the things that are similar. Both very, very hyped up. Both off the field problems cost them dearly. They both play quarterback. The biggest difference to me about comparable, similar numbers, that's somewhat similar, right? Jamarcus has a little bit better numbers, I believe. But Jamarcus Russell was the #1 overall pick. The first player taken. The prodigal son. The one that was going to lead the Raiders to the promised land. And he busted in every way possible. On the field, off the field in preparation, off the field in behavior. Johnny Manziel was the 22nd overall pick, and there was a lot of questions surrounding his off-the-field stuff from a hype standpoint. So because one was taken first overall and the other was taken 22nd overall, and a lot of that Venn diagram meets in the middle, I've got to go Jamarcus Russell here.
Do you like that reasoning?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it makes sense, but it's just something about the hype that was around Johnny Manziel.
But it was tempered hype because you knew there was problems. I didn't hear a lot about Jamarcus Russell off the field having problems.
I know. I just think it's because we live in a different time now.
See, I really don't think that because Jamarcus Russell was
There's
drafted
no way.
2007.
There's
Johnny
no way
Manziel was
people
7
didn't
years
know
later.
what was going on with Jamarcus Russell.
Well, there's no way that people didn't look around at draft picks in 2007 and just started looking at off-the-field behavior.
No, I'm not saying of us hearing it. Now it's a lot easier to hear stuff that goes on. Back in 2007, it wasn't.
Man, here's where I'm having trouble, is that Jamarcus Russell did have 1 year in Oakland, 2008, where he passed for 2,400 yards, 13 TDs, and 8 INTs. Not amazing, but hey, I would have loved to have thrown for 2,400 yards in a season in the NFL. But he was number 1 overall. That means 21 other teams passed on Johnny Manziel, at least, to not be their franchise guy. That number 1 overall pick carries so much weight.
It does. I mean, that's what
it
the
should.
weight that Caleb
It
Williams
should.
carries. I think that's what pushes it over the edge. Okay. Jamarcus Russell, shockingly, has entered the championship game of the biggest NFL draft bust. All right, this one, you've got a number 1 overall pick in Steve Ettman versus 2nd overall pick in Ryan Leaf. One was in 92, Ryan Leaf was in 98. Gentlemen, again, first overall pick does carry weight. Ettman played 5 years, but Ryan Leaf was hyped up so much with Peyton Manning, as Cone brought up earlier. You remember some people were on the side, well, Ryan Leaf's going to be a better player. He's got more tools, a stronger arm, this, that, and the other. I think Ryan Leaf outduels Steve Ettman just because of hype, position group, and the off-the-field craziness
I agree.
that went along with Ryan Leaf. I don't even know how you're debating this one, but what way are you trying to find to somehow...
Draft slot matters and potential matters, right? Steve Bennett went first, played how many seasons? 5 seasons, got 8 sacks, did nothing, 1 forced fumble. I mean, Ryan had almost 4,000 passing yards. I mean, he has somewhat numbers, got drafted 2nd. I mean, I guess you could put the hype around him in the Peyton Manning situation, that's fine. But, I mean, you went number 1. Best player in the draft, and did nothing. To me, I don't know how you can be a bigger bust than that.
Well, I think you're a bigger bust because what cost you on the field was off the field. I think what cost Steve Ettman was injuries on the field, and it didn't work out. What cost Ryan Leaf was he was out doing drugs and acting like a crazy person when he wasn't playing. I mean, this is a matchup. I've got it just off the cuff. I've got to go Jamarcus.
Why is that?
Because there's so many similarities. There's even more similarities between, I think, Jamarcus Russell and Ryan Leaf than there are between Jamarcus Russell and Johnny Manziel. But what's that one difference? And it's only one difference, and it's a slot up. One was taken first, one was taken second. I think it is that close. I think Jamarcus Russell, the Mobile Lean King, is the biggest NFL draft bust in history.
Then, Blaine, you're going to have to break the tie because I'm going to go with Ryan Leaf. Now, I'll grant you the number 1 overall position drafted for Jamarcus Russell. But like we talked about with Ryan Leaf, this discussion on whether or not he should be drafted above Peyton Manning was a real thing, back and forth. And here's the thing. Jamarcus Russell, at least, say what you will about him, but he at least threw for more yards than Ryan Leaf, played in more games, threw more touchdowns, fewer interceptions, and had a higher completion percentage. So with Ryan Leaf, 48.4% completion percentage, 3,600 passing yards, 14 touchdowns, 36 interceptions in 25 games played, compared to Jamarcus, who at least played 31 games, 4,000 pass yards, 18 touchdowns, 23 interceptions, and he did have that one season where he threw for 2,400 yards.
Can I throw in a caveat before Blaine opines? Do you think maybe Jamarcus Russell's athletic potential was so much, not that it was oceans better than Ryan Leaf, but I feel like he possessed more God-given talent than Ryan Leaf. Could that be something that maybe sways you the other side or no?
The throwing at 80 yards on a knee stuff was wild because those videos were going viral before the draft for months and months and months. Having played the position, I didn't put as much credence into it. I'm like, okay, congrats, you can throw it really far.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys in my hometown can throw it farther than me, but here I am.
It's the reason, guys, the PGA Tour ain't just a long drive contest.
I would probably go Jamarcus Russell.
Okay. All right, we want to know what you think. Jamarcus Russell has been crowned the biggest NFL draft bust in the history of the NFL. We want to know what you guys think. Let us know in the comments. Is there somebody that we're missing here? And again, listen, I'm not trying to go back to 1957, okay? I don't want to go back.
Crazy Legs Johnson?
During World War II with Ronnie Popeyes Jenkins.
He was serving our country.
He was. No, look, I appreciate you guys. Believe me, I've been to Omaha Beach. I appreciate it. But when it comes to NFL Draft Bust, we want to know who is your biggest. We appreciate you guys joining us. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and make sure you catch the channel for even more content because we're not going to bust anything except records.